Unless you've been living under a rock, you've probably heard of ClawdBot, aka Moltbot, aka OpenClaw. This is an open source AI project that essentially lets you build an agent that can do anything. With this agent, you can summarize your email, you can code, you can summarize, you can schedule, you can have it send you reminders, you can connect it to Notion. There are so many things you can do with this. And today, I'm going to show you how you can set this up in GCP, this is Google Cloud Platform, for $30 a month without having to buy a Mac Mini or a Mac Studio that costs thousands or tens of thousands of dollars. Don't get me wrong, I understand why people are doing this. Compute is going to be the future, but if you don't have that budget and don't want to invest in the hardware, you can set this up in the cloud. Let me show you how you can do this. So the first thing you want to do is go to console.cloud.google.com, and it'll take you to a page that looks like this. And if you don't have an account, I recommend you create one, and there's probably going to be some first time joining benefit where you can get some free credits to use. But essentially what you're going to do is see this interface, and what you want to do is create a project. Now here are all the projects I have created. I have dozens of projects running in my cloud, from my NBA betting to my iOS app to Minecraft servers that I'm hosting to Lexica, my daily word of the day text service. Everything I do, I have in the cloud. And I have one for specifically Gaia, which is my ClawdBot. So what you're going to want to do is create a new project, give it a name, and you don't necessarily need to create an organization. It might help if you have budgeting that you want to monitor, but for now, just create a new project. Once you create a new project, what you're going to do is go to compute. Your compute engine is essentially all of the servers that you're going to create. So you can go onto the side here and click VM instance, and you can see here I have Gaia running. This is a small, lightweight virtual machine. I also have one for my Kalshi bot that runs 24/7 and also helps me predict 15-minute Bitcoin predictions on Kalshi and has been actually somewhat profitable. So let's create an instance here. What you're going to do is give it a name. You can select a region. There are regions for GCP all around the globe. I like US Central one because it's low CO2, it's pretty reliable, and for the zones, there are zones within each region you can select. For now, just leave it as any, and here is the important part. You can select what type of compute you want. They have dozens of different servers with different CPUs, different RAM, different platforms. They will all cost different things depending on the type of configuration you want. Here you can see that the monthly estimate for this E2 configured with two virtual CPUs, 1 core, and 4 gigabytes costs about $25 a month. You can do a custom machine here, bump up the cores, and you can see how the price will change here to 400. You can add some memory too, and this is what people who are buying the studios, the Mac Studios, are doing. They're getting hundreds of gigabytes of memory, and you can pay hundreds a month for that in Google, or you can buy your own hardware. So let's just go back to the preset here and leave it at the E2 Mini. This is about $25 a month, and this is more than enough power you need to run any day-to-day operations using ClawdBot. So I'm just going to go ahead and create this new VM. You can see that it's spinning up here, and this will take a couple minutes, so just give it a second. All right, so you can see that this Gaia 2 instance was now created. So what we're going to do is click SSH to SSH into this machine. And when you create a Google virtual machine, it makes it pretty easy. They will automatically authorize. You can just click authorize here, and it will establish a secure connection into this server. So now that we're in, this is what it looks like. If you don't know any Linux commands, I highly suggest you figure that out. This is not a Linux tutorial. I'm hoping that you have at least a little bit of either programming or Linux experience and can move your way around this virtual machine. But as you can see, there's nothing in here, and we're in our home directory. So what you're going to do is go to OpenClaw's new website, openclaw.ai, which was previously ClawdBot.ai or something. And all you're going to do is scroll down, copy this curl command here, and go back to your instance, paste that in, and run it. And there you have it. It's installing. So let's let this sit for a little bit. Let's let it install. And once we start getting some prompts where we can actually input some information, I will let you know. By the way, while this is installing, I just wanted to plug my newsletter, The Metagame. It's a newsletter about life, technology, AI, philosophy, psychology, and pretty much anything that I find interesting. If you're interested in that kind of content, where I talk about game theory and chess and poker and Krav Maga and ways that we can relate different aspects of our life, I highly suggest you give it a subscribe. You can find the link to it in my bio, along with all the projects that I've worked on. Thanks. All right, so we can see here that OpenClaw has successfully installed and it is going through the setup process. And now we have this very important warning. You're going to want to have to hit yes here if you want to actually use it, but please read this warning. It's saying that this is a hobby project and it's in beta and there are vulnerabilities and security issues that you need to be mindful of. You don't want to expose your API keys by accident. You don't want to leak any of your own personal data. So please read through this and understand that this is a risky application. So we're going to hit yes, and we're going to go through the quick start guide. So here is where you can select the model and the auth provider. Right now I am using Anthropic, and what you're going to do is paste your API key into here. I will have a separate video on setting up your API key securely, but for now, you can paste your API key into here securely, and it will only add it to the environment variables. This does not have access to the web yet, so it won't be able to expose your keys, but for the future reference, yes, this might eventually have access to the internet, and we want to make sure our keys are securely stored. So for now, I'm going to skip this, but know that you can paste your API key into there, and it will use that model. So now here are the models by provider. We're just going to go down to Anthropic here and make sure that the current default model is set to Opus 4.5. You can select anything else. You can select a more lightweight version. I'm going to leave it at the current default at Opus 4.5. Now, here's the fun part. This is where you can pick where you're going to communicate to your ClawdBot. I like Telegram. I don't use Telegram for anything else except ClawdBot. So it's essentially like I have my own application dedicated to just messaging my bot. So let's click Telegram, and it's going to ask you to enter the Telegram bot token. So now what you're going to want to do is go to Telegram, and I have Telegram installed on both my phone and on my computer, and you're going to go to @botfather and click start, or type /start. This will pull up a bunch of commands that you can run, and what we're going to want to do is do the new bot command. This is going to spin up a new bot. You can choose a name for it, and it's going to have to be a globally unique bot. Now, I already have my Gaia bot set up, so I'm not going to create a new one, but what's going to happen is once you give it a name, Telegram will send you back a bot token. What you're going to do is paste that bot token into here. So I'm just going to enter a random string for now, just so we can continue on, but you're going to want to put your bot token in here if you want to communicate through Telegram. Now what's going to happen is it's going to ask you to configure the skills. These are skills similar to what you see in Claude Code, where specific tasks can be performed in a contained environment. So let's hit yes, and we're going to show the homebrew install. We're going to use npm here, and you can see all of these different default skills that are built in. You can do things like connect to Apple Notes, have your 1Password integrated. Bird is the x/Twitter command line for reading, searching, posting, and engaging via cookies. So let's hit the space bar to turn that one on. Let's turn on Gemini so we can generate images. And let's add Nano Banana Pro for more images. And that should be good for now. We're going to hit enter. And again, you can add more of these later on, but this is just the default. Now it's going to ask you for a couple of different APIs. For Google, I'm just going to hit no for all these. Gemini API key, Notion API key, OpenAI, no to all these for now, just so we can continue on. Hooks let you automate actions, and they're kind of like helping the memory. And here you can see the session memory will save the context when a new command is issued. These are things that are recommended. You can enable these if you want, hit enter, and those will get set up. So now you'll see that the gateway service is installed. Perfect. So now we're at the step where we can hatch our bot. And it's recommended here to just hatch it in the TUI. Hit enter, and the bot is started. So you can see here that it says to wake up, and you should now be able to text your bot in Telegram. If you send a message to the bot you just created with the right handle, you should be able to see the message appear here, and it should be able to communicate back. Alternatively, you can just message it directly in this terminal. Say hello. And you can see that it's now thinking of another message. And you can see here I said hello and nothing really is happening, and this is probably because I haven't set my API key for Claude yet. So you definitely want to make sure you set those keys. But once you do, you should be able to go to your bot, and we'll go to mine here, go to Gaia, and you can see all the previous messages I had. But let's just say hello, and you can see that now it's typing up here. And if you had this terminal in my other Gaia, you'd be able to see that the message popped up there. And you can see, hey, what's up? It responds. So there are so many more things you can do with this by just saying hello to it. And you're going to need to set up all the skills to do that and all the API keys, but that's a problem for a future video. For now, you should be able to have ClawdBot working. You can ask it to schedule things for you. You can ask it to search the web. You can have it draft content ideas. There are so many things you could do with this, and it's really only scratching the surface of what AI agents can do. Let me know if you have any questions, and if there's anything else you'd like to see me make a video of, please let me know, and I will start to work on those. Thanks.